We have some massive transfer news to go over in today's video as we have agreed a midfielder deal. We will cover this in today's video whilst going over all the latest Celtic news from the last 24 hours. But first, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. Young Celtic goalkeeper Josh Clark has completed a season-long loan move to Partick Thistle, linking up with former Hoops right-back Mark Wilson at Firhill. Clark spent last season at Ayr United under Scott Brown, gaining valuable experience in the Championship. Now he'll continue his development under Wilson, who was appointed Thistle boss this summer after stepping in following the departure of Chris Doolan late last season. Wilson, who played at right-back for Celtic during Gordon Strachan's tenure, will be looking to rebuild the Jags after falling short of promotion. His former co-manager Brian Graham opted to leave for Falkirk rather than stay on in the Firhill dugout, leaving Wilson solely in charge for the upcoming campaign. Clark has been highly rated within Lennox Town's youth setup and is seen as one of Celtic's promising young keepers. With first-team opportunities limited at Parkhead, another full season in the Championship offers a strong platform for consistent minutes. Thistle did also try to sign up Kyle Ure too in a double swoop. However, it looks like he could be heading to Ayr United too. Jude Bonnar has already joined the Honest Men on loan, and negotiations for Kyle Ure are progressing and thought to be centred around a potential option to buy the fee. Now for the main story, as Quanoku has officially left Celtic, completing a permanent move to League One side FC Nantes. The South Korean midfielder has signed a 3-year deal with the French club, bringing his short stint at Parkhead to an end without making a single competitive appearance for the Hoops. The 23-year-old had been close to joining Austria Vienna earlier in the summer, but talks broke down, allowing Nantes to swoop in and secure his services. While his time in Glasgow was brief and ultimately unfulfilled, the move to League One represents a significant opportunity for Quan to reset and prove his value at the top level of European football. In the end, he actually got what he wanted from his time at Celtic, to step up to a better league. For Celtic, the deal frees up space in midfield as the club continues to reshape the squad ahead of the new season and cuts the players who are surplus to requirements. Next on the agenda for Celtic will be some additions. In other news, Adam Montgomery's latest loan move, his 6th move, may well mark the end of his time at Celtic, with the 23-year-old now facing a make-or-break season away from Parkhead. The left-sided defender has officially joined David Martindale's newly promoted Livingston on a season-long loan, returning to the Premiership after stints across the SPFL and down south. Despite early promise under Ange Postecoglou, Montgomery has drifted to the fringes of the first-team picture. When the Aussie manager was at Celtic, he praised the defender after his contribution against Aberdeen, saying, "He showed tremendous composure. It was a simple pass across the goal, but at the end of the game when you need to win, he showed that composure. He is a very talented young player and hopefully he continues to do that," he said. With 2 years remaining on his current deal and no sign of breaking into Brendan Rodgers' plans, this loan feels like a last chance to showcase his worth, but not for Celtic, for prospective suitors in Scotland or England. Montgomery spent last season at Queen's Park and has previously been loaned to Aberdeen, St Johnstone, Motherwell and Fleetwood. Now at a club where he's likely to play regularly in the top flight, he has a platform to prove himself at senior level. He featured in Celtic's early pre-season matches, starting against Queen's Park before being named on the bench for games against Cork, Sporting Lisbon and Newcastle. But with competition intensifying at left-back, especially with Kieran Tierney's return and Hayato Inamura impressing in pre-season, the pathway looks blocked. This move to Livingston is less about development and more about putting himself in the shop window for a permanent move next summer. In other news, Brendan Rodgers' remarks about Yang Hyun-jun have sparked discussion with Sunsport chief football writer Robert Grieve, suggesting the manager is subtly putting pressure on the Celtic board. Yang's Celtic career has so far been inconsistent, with flashes of ability offset by erratic form. Until recently, few fans would have been disappointed to see the South Korean winger move on. But with the club currently short in wide areas following the departure of Nicholas Kuhn, Rodgers made it clear Yang remains a key part of his plans, at least for now. Grieve said this, "I found it very, very interesting that Brendan Rodgers was talking about Yang being a vital squad player as things stand. It was almost, for me, a message that he was sending out is, listen, if I don't get another winger in here, Yang's the guy who plays, or certainly he's a guy who's going to play a lot of minutes. I'm convinced that that's a message being sent out by Brendan Rodgers. When he's talking about Yang being an important part of the squad and how he's currently the guy who's starting for Celtic, that's a message being sent by the Celtic manager. If I don't get another winger in, or the kind of quality that I like, then this is a guy who's going to be starting a lot of games. Rodgers will be desperate to add a winger to his squad with just 3 natural wide players in the senior squad. While Celtic continues to monitor targets, the manager's public backing of Yang may be less about the player and more about squad depth. The league kicks off in 10 days, and as it stands, Yang and Maeda will start on the wing with James Forrest on the bench. Celtic fans have everything crossed that there are no injuries on the flanks, or the squad could be in a really awkward position heading into the Champions League qualifiers in just over 20 days' time. The recruitment team needs to step up and get some players through the door. In other news, Stephen Welsh has returned to training with Celtic following an injury scare that threatened to derail his summer plans. The 25-year-old centre-back limped off with a shoulder issue during the pre-season win over Cork City. Wearing the captain's armband after coming on at half-time, Welsh endured a nightmare outing. His mix-up with Ross Doohan led to Cork's equaliser before a heavy collision forced him off. He was seen leaving the field using his shirt as a makeshift sling, clearly in discomfort. There were real fears the injury could complicate his future, with a permanent exit on the cards following a solid loan spell at KV Mechelen. The Belgian side, along with other interested clubs, had been keeping close tabs on his situation, but any movement was put on hold pending a clearer view of his fitness. Now back in training in Como, Welsh is in a position to reassess his options. While it remains to be seen whether he'll feature again in pre-season, his return means a summer move, likely on a permanent basis, could still materialise if the right offer lands. Welsh has a tough route to feature regularly for Celtic in the backline. Austin Trusty is fighting with Liam Scales for a starting spot next to Cameron Carter-Vickers. Dane Murray has seen a lot of game time in pre-season with Kieran Tierney and Inamura also able to play in a central role. Lastly, Celtic Park has undergone a series of subtle but significant upgrades during pre-season, with a revamped playing surface and fresh improvements to the technical areas ahead of the club's return to competitive action at home. While fans got a first look during last week's friendly against Newcastle, the full extent of the changes is now becoming clearer. A new pitch has been laid, as happens most summers. But it's not just the turf that's had a facelift. Changes around the dugouts and tunnel area have also modernised the stadium's infrastructure. The dugouts, in particular, have received a complete overhaul. They've been raised to pitch level, meaning staff and substitutes no longer step down into them. They have had an additional row of modern seating added, and access has been improved too, with entrances and exits now available both centrally and at the left-hand side. These changes bring Celtic Park closer in line with modern European standards and reflect a club continuing to invest in its matchday environment. Celtic will return to their home turf next week, and supporters heading back to Paradise will be able to see the refreshed setup firsthand. Celtic welcome St Mirren as the club raises the flag and prepares to kick off the new season. What are your thoughts on these? Let us know down in the comment section below. Make sure you've liked this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content.